Tucked away in a suburban community in Arlington, Virginia, is an amazing structure, a little log house built about 1750. It is rare that small wood buildings like this have survived for 250 years, and it offers a chance to see how typical early Virginia settlers built their houses. Most built a one-room house with a loft above, and sometimes, as in the case with this house, a lean-to was added to the rear. To quote from the Virginia Landmarks Register, "Most of the simple, often crude dwellings of the average colonial Virginian have disappeared. Hence the finer houses that remain tend to give a mistaken notion of the typical lifestyle of the 18th century. A rare surviving example of such rude housing is the Ball Sellers House in Arlington, which is operated by the Arlington Historical Society." In 1742, Lord Thomas Fairfax owned the vast tract of land that today is Fairfax County, Arlington County, Alexandria, and part of Prince William and Loudoun counties. In that year, Lord Fairfax granted a land patent of 166 acres on a stream called 4 Mile Run to a farmer named John Ball. That patented land included what today is the Glen Carlin community in Arlington County. John Ball cut down trees and split logs to build his house. He chinked the spaces between the logs with mud daubing, a mixture of mud, clay, sand, corn husks, and animal hair. He then covered the logs with weatherboarding and built a roof of clapboards, one of the most rudimentary of early roof coverings. Luckily, even that rare roof survives today at the Ball Sellers House because it was covered all these years with an outer roof. The wide boards that John laid for flooring also remain, still held together with his wooden pegs. John and his wife Elizabeth raised 5 daughters in this small house. An inventory of his possessions, taken at his death in 1766, revealed that he had little furniture, only some beds, chests, a table, and 2 spinning wheels, one for linen and one for wool. The women spun thread, flax for linen, wool from sheep. They not only had sheep, but also cows, pigs, a mare, and beehives. John had farm tools such as hoes and plows to clear his land on which he raised corn and wheat. The women tended a kitchen garden, growing various vegetables for their table and herbs for medicinal purposes. They probably cooked over the fireplace in the one-room house in the winter, but no doubt moved outside to cook in the summer months. The parents probably slept in the main room by the fire, while the girls climbed up to the loft each night to sleep. Not only was John Ball a farmer, he also built a mill at the point where 4 Mile Run and Lumber Run come together in what is today Glen Carlin Park. Here he could grind corn and wheat to make bread for his family and his neighbors. This mill operation meant that he could also obtain manufactured goods, either through the sale or barter of his flour. His inventory shows that he owned such items as a pair of spectacles, a fiddle, some books, tools, farm implements, a stove for making cider, and various cooking utensils and dishes. Thus this family was quite self-sufficient. They had what they needed to live on the frontier: shelter, food, clothing, and even a fiddle for evening entertainment for what little leisure time they had. In 1772, John Ball's property was sold to George Washington's tailor, William Carlin. Carlin's family owned the house for over 100 years until 1887. During this time, Virginia gave 10 square miles of land to help form the new capital city, Washington. Some of Carlin's property remained in Virginia, but the section with the house on it became a part of the District of Columbia. One of the boundary stones erected to mark the district line was installed on his property and is still in place today near Kenmore Middle School. William Carlin's grandson, Andrew, and his granddaughter, Anne, built the addition that you see today to the west of the cabin. The colors of this house, cream with brown trim, and red windows, are the fashionable Victorian colors that Andrew and Anne chose when they built this addition. The Carlins also ran a popular recreation resort on 4 Mile Run at the site now called Carlin Springs. People came out from Washington on the train to spend the day strolling in the woods, picnicking, dancing, and swimming in the springs. In 1887, the Carlins sold 92 acres of their property to Samuel Burdett and William Curtis, two lawyers who formed the Carlin Springs Cooperative Association. They divided the land into 384 smaller lots, laid out streets, built a community hall, and thus began the planned community known today as Glen Carlin. Burdett built his own home across from the Ball Cabin and also preserved the Carlin Cemetery, which today is still a peaceful oasis between the Glen Carlin Community Center and the library. In 1920, William and Julia Powell, two government employees, bought lots 1, 2, 3, and 4 in Section 16 in Glen Carlin, which included the original house sitting on lots 3 and 4. From here, they commuted to work in Washington on the trolley and still could come home in the evening to their beloved garden and chickens. Here they raised Julia's niece, Marion Reinhardt, who married a neighborhood boy, George Sellers, and later inherited the property from Uncle William. Julia Powell had been a Navy yeomanette during World War I, one of the first women allowed in the United States Armed Services. Thus, she and William are buried in Arlington Cemetery. Marion Reinhardt Sellers donated the house and lots 3 and 4 to the Arlington Historical Society in 1975 to preserve the house as a living monument to our past. At that time, the house was named for its first and last owners, Ball and Sellers. It is a designated Arlington Historic House, is on the Virginia Landmarks Register, and the National Register of Historic Places in America. Today, the cabin is open for people to visit and see how early Virginia settlers built their homes and lived what was then the frontier of our country. A resident curator lives in the Victorian addition and shows visitors around the cabin and the grounds. At the site of the old well is a second well house that was built. Another outbuilding was a combination chicken house and privy. Every summer a garden is planted and includes flax, which the Balls grew for their linen wheel, and every April the wisteria blooms. 250 years have passed since John Ball built his simple home. To visit it is to see an irreplaceable piece of American history.